Wealth is built in many different ways, through businesses, through property, through decades of careful professional work. But building wealth and organizing wealth are two different things. And the gap between them, if left unaddressed, is where the complexity takes hold. For 5 years, Greenthos Capital has worked quietly to close that gap. What follows are 3 examples of what that work looks like in practice. We first met this client at an early stage in their journey, a founder of a growing business. Not yet wealth in the way most people mean the word, but building towards it, steadily and deliberately. The business had reached a particular kind of crossroads. The decisions being made now about reinvestment, asset purchases, how the company was structured, would determine the shape of everything that followed. At that point, all activity sat inside a single operating entity. This is common at the start. It is efficient, it is simple, but it is limiting because it means that wealth created by the business has nowhere to go except back into the business. Our recommendation was to establish a holding company above the operating business, not as a tax exercise, not as a legal technicality, but as a framework so that as the business generated value, assets could be acquired deliberately, held separately, and governed with intention. We also began planning for what came next, how governance would evolve as the business grew, how future investments would be allocated across the structure, and how succession, still years away, could be prepared for now before it became urgent. The founder remains at the center of the business today, but the architecture around it now supports wealth creation, not just business growth. It provides direction, clarity, a framework that compounds as success does. When everything depends on one person, structure becomes the first form of protection. This case began with a question. A simple question, but one that sits beneath a great deal of quiet family anxiety. How do you support the people you love without removing their reason to build something for themselves? The client, a senior executive, had worked for many years to reach a position of financial security. They wanted that security to extend to their family, to fund education, to cover healthcare when it was needed, to create opportunities. But they were deliberate about something important. They did not want to establish expectations of inheritance. They did not want passive income that replaced initiative. They wanted generosity that strengthened people, not generosity that made effort unnecessary. We helped establish a discretionary trust guided by policy rather than entitlement. The investment strategy followed the endowment principles. Capital preservation first, stability, then growth. Support is available, but it is not automatic. Distributions are considered in categories aligned with what the family actually values: education, welfare, entrepreneurial activity, professional development. The trust also carries a future philanthropic mandate to be activated once long-term financial resilience is achieved, because generosity, done properly, also needs structure. In practice, this arrangement does something that is harder to achieve than it sounds. It makes generosity sustainable, and it makes responsibility something that the next generation has to earn, not something that simply arrives. Support can be generous without being guaranteed. Stewardship can be firm without being unkind. Not all wealth is financial. This engagement involved ancestral land that had been held by a family across multiple generations, land that contained burial sites, places of cultural significance, a history that could not be rebuilt if it was lost. As the surrounding region developed, pressure began to emerge. The land had commercial value, others were interested in it. And within the family itself, there were different views, different generations, different needs, different ideas about what should happen next. The risk was fragmentation, decisions made under pressure or made informally that would be reversible. Identity, cultural, familial, historical, sold or subdivided before anyone had fully considered what was being given up. Our recommendation was the establishment of a charitable trust with a single permanent mandate. Preserve this land for cultural and heritage purposes, non-commercially, without exception. We documented stewardship roles. Who was responsible? How decisions would be made? Who had the authority to speak for the land? Not because the family did not trust each other, but because memory fades, people move, generations change, and the land deserved something more durable than goodwill. The trust now ring-fences the land against commercial pressure. It is insulated from market forces, from individual circumstances, from the kind of urgency that causes irreversible decisions. It is structured to endure beyond any single custodian. This was not a financial transaction. It was the protection of identity. 3 families, 3 completely different situations, 3 different answers to the same underlying question: how do you build something that lasts? The answer in each case was the same. Structure, built carefully, governed with intention, and respected over time.